Okay, and hello everyone. Welcome to the Blackwater Report. I'm Ken, and today we have packed up our gear and traveled down to the Board of County Commissioners' offices to speak with District 2 County Commissioner Kerry Smith. And today we're going to go over a couple of questions that many of you in Santa Rosa County and in District 2 and the rest of the districts are, talking about. Some top of mind conversation. So we're going to jump into it, and we'll ask him a few questions. So here we go. So we'll start off with one of the topics that is, whether you live in the north end or the south end of Santa Rosa County, this is something that is constantly coming up: the widening of Highway 90. Many residents are concerned about traffic along U.S. Highway 90. What progress is being made in widening the highway, and what timeline should the community realistically expect?
Well, Ken, thank you, first of all. Thank you, Paul, first of all, for coming down and doing this podcast and coming to us. And I think it's vitally important to get the information out to the voters, and especially when people rely on social media, and some of the things in social media get so truncated that they never get the full story. So this is a great opportunity, and I love the idea of this platform. But as far as Highway 90 and where we're at with it, currently I am the vice chair for the Florida-Alabama TPO. I should be the incoming chair in July. One of the things that I've been in office for a little over 3 years now. And one of the things that when I came into office and I found out that I had to thoroughly digest was the Florida-Alabama TPO. The TPO process is where you have all of your planning and where you go through to plan all of the projects in the future, even up to a 50-year project. That being said, the Highway 90, there's two specific segments that are in East Milton. You have from Highway 87, where 87 dead ends into 90 coming out of Navarre. You have that, and we'll call that 87 South. 87 South all the way into Ward Basin Road. That's the longest segment. It's actually probably the cheaper segment because of the fact that it doesn't have any bridges, and the right-of-way is a lot cheaper on that one, and some of it's already taken care of. That section got into 60% design back in 2021, and at that point it was put on the shelf, because once you get to 60% design, that's now when you have to find the money, because the money is in the right-of-way acquisition. Right. So you have to get to that section in order to get to the construction section. So that's the more difficult part. It's the money section.
Right.
So that being said, you realize that's been sitting on a shelf since 2021. Now you have the other section, which is the much more important section to me, and it's the shorter section, and that's coming from Ward Basin Road, going over the river, through the city limits, and through the downtown area, and to Stewart Street. That's the critical section that I've been working on. Now, that being said, that one just got to 60% design.
Okay.
So that's why I started making a topic of conversation on that one, because there's nothing really to talk about until you get to the money part. And so once the FDOT got to that section of 60% design, we're starting to talk about right away. That's why the last meetings that we had I had a topic addressing that very thing, on how the county can come in and accelerate the project. Now I'll back up just a little bit and take you to where it's at on the TPO. When I started with the TPO 3.5 years ago, it was at position 12. It was outside of the top 10. So I was like, okay, we have to do this baby steps, because I've got to get it into the top 10. Let's see how far we can get it. I was able to get it up to number 7, but it's still outside of the critical, because you have to be really into the top 5 to be of any consequence. Back up just a little bit more. This and it makes it, I'm sorry to be so technical on it. It gets a little complicated, and this is the world I had to realize was it's a non-SIS, and SIS is SIS. That means Strategic Intermodal Systems. SIS is where all of the money is, because strategic intermodal involves military bases, being able to get the mission, get people to the mission as fast as possible. Now, you're probably thinking about Whiting Field. Why wouldn't Highway 90 be on the SIS? There's 2 bases in the state of Florida that are not on the SIS. Key West, Whiting Field. That's because of the amount of employment, it's the amount of personnel on the different installations. Okay. So one of the things that I tried to do was get that on the SIS. So through our planning department, we did a variety of attacks on trying to get Highway 90 section on the SIS. It was turned down. We started back over. Now I'm working on getting it back up into that top 5. All of that to be said, in August, we'll be determining the placements of positions for those different projects. So I feel confident that we can get it into that top 5.
Okay.
But we're competing with Escambia County. So that's where a lot of, Escambia County does have a 0.5% sales tax in which they're able to gather funding for different projects. And when I say skin in the game, that's when I say that's the county bringing money to accelerate the project. And that's where I was at over the last week, was talking to the board, like, we have an opportunity. We have roughly $3 million worth of right of way that we currently as a county have under our control that we'll just donate to FDOT. There's, that's skin of the game, as well as coming up with some funding too. So 10 to 15 million has always been my magic number of, like, okay, FDOT, here we come bearing more gifts. And that's when FDOT gets excited, says, now we're going to go to Tallahassee for you and start to work on getting that project. Because once they get some of their funding, it helps them to jockey their work plan.
Okay.
So that's when you've seen Escambia in the past with the ability to jump us. Well, that's where in the past, when you had a council, with a city council with the city of Milton, that basically said, we don't want this 4-lane coming through the city of Milton. And when you have that kind of political pressure from one political entity, and you didn't get any relief from this political entity, which was the county commission, nobody on the county commission and my predecessor were not in the spirit of going forth and taking those darts.
Gotcha.
That's why the first thing I did when I came into office is I made a trip to Chipley and says, look, and it's kind of, I'm talking in vernaculars, but I went to him and I said, I'll be your political hero. I'll take the arrow.
Right.
So go ahead, just feel free to, we've got to move forward on this. I'm somebody that's promised that we're going to be working on this project. So from day one, I've been working on that project. My wife said I've been aging in dog years versus human years, because the 3 years I've been in, she goes, you look like you've aged probably near 10. Yeah. So, and it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of consternation. And it's also, it's the learning curve. It's like, I'm a private sector guy.
Yeah.
So when I came out of that private sector, it was a huge learning curve to understand government timelines.
Okay.
Government timelines are very frustrating to somebody in the private sector, because really, this is how you hear about it, but you don't understand it until you're inside baseball.
Right. So, like, how long it can actually takes to get a knot of time.
Right. To get, to get anywhere.
Right.
And it's built that way because it's built that way on purpose.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts, and so that's where we're at. And where I want to be is, I want to be breaking ground on this project. We're in 2026. I'd love to be there before 2032.
Yeah.
In reality,
I would think there's a lot of people who would agree with you and would want to see that.
That's just what I do. Well, you have a lot that's really riding on it. And you see, you have and I've said that the past council with the past city council, they really did not want to see this happen. But now this current council understands that their economic vitality kind of hinges upon it because of the fact that where we're at with the Bayou District Group, and the Bayou District Development Group is the group that we've brought in through the RFP on that old courthouse property. So I don't know if you're probably familiar with that proposal and what they came into. So one of the key members of that group, while I was giving them a tour of that courthouse after we got into negotiations with them, said, "You do know that a lot of this project is key on where we're at with this 4-lane." It was like, okay, I appreciate you telling me that, because that gives us a third factor to move forward on. And that gives me something else, because we already had all of the jobs that were coming in to East Milton. We see all of that. We see the development that's, a lot of people thinks that this board is what has approved a lot of that development in East Milton that's being built out now. A lot of that was approved 10 years ago. 15 years ago. Some of it's, it's just now coming into fruition because now there's a purpose for the housing. See Buffalo Rock's coming in. You got other industries coming in. I've got to make sure I'm clear with which ones I can say code names and which ones I can't say.
Yes. Those that want to be a part of that growth in East Milton.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of it.
There is. There's a lot, and it's a blank canvas, and we've made a plan. Yeah, but I'm sure we'll talk more about that later.
Good. So speaking of East Milton and the industrial park and some of the things going on out there, what is the vision for the new industrial park in East Milton, and how will it benefit local jobs and the economic growth for District 2 residents?
Well, what you have is East Milton's not just one industrial park.
Right.
You have multiple industrial parks, and even our older industrial park has a new section in it coming around. So you have that one in conjunction with the other one. The new one is what we call the Milton Interchange Park. So you have, you just saw Buffalo Rock. They just went online. So they're bringing in theirs, and you have the smaller ones. You have Hershey's, and you have Damon's Ice Cream, and then you have Nabisco that's out there. Then you have some other specs that are getting filled in. Like I said, we've got code names on some of those because we've got NDAs. But people forget sometimes that I call it, for lack of a better term, this is Stuckey's Industrial Park.
Okay.
We have one right here that's in my district. It's not so much East Milton because it's on this side of the river, but this district has become that key light industrial area.
Right.
So what you're seeing jobs. You're seeing a ton of jobs with Gulf Cable.
Yep.
That's one of our. It's a 600. They employ 600 people. So that one's been around a while, and they're even expanding more in their current footprint on that older industrial park.
Okay.
So you have more jobs coming into that one. We call it a logistics gateway. We're right there with I-10 and 87, and it's been barren for quite some time because of the lack of wastewater treatment. And I know that's a question for later, but what we're doing is we're trying to transform this into that area because it's already naturally fitting that. So what we're doing is we're leveraging that area and we're able to take those jobs, and these jobs are coming here through these industries, and they're very pleased with that positioning. So that's why they're running there, which makes us have another problem of running out of land. Then that gives us to another question of the outer-lying field, which I'll reserve those questions for later. So you know how they all kind of just play together. They do, but these are high-wage jobs. We're able to leverage funding through different means like Tryout, and these make sure that their metrics guarantee that these jobs pay at least 115% over median. Right. So they're not just, they're not just the basic, minimum wage warehousing jobs. These are higher paying jobs, and they demand a little bit more skill, right, including them. Yeah. So
Okay. Great. Let's see here. So speaking of the outlier field, there has been discussion about a potential land swap, right, with the Navy involving the outlier field in East Milton. 640 acres, I believe, is what it is, or somewhere.
694.
694.
640 is a section, so we have a little bit of extra that's been tacked on over the years. Okay. So we're almost at 700 acres.
Almost 700 acres in that the Navy has, that they're in conversations with the county about swapping. What would that agreement look like, and how could it impact the development and conservation in that area?
Well, we've just gotten to where we're starting to negotiate with it. We're into those negotiations. We're going by the Site 8 playbook because it's already been played before. But, bearing in mind, we're not going to have the problems that they're having in Escambia County because we've already identified it as being strictly for recreational and in light industrial. So there's not going to be any residential components to it. Okay. So we don't want to add that caveat because you see the kind of problems that it brings into the political scene. Sure. So we saw that from the errors of our neighbors. Right. Which is, it's nobody's fault, but you don't see them until you get there. But it's a multi-year marathon. It's going to be 3 to 5 years just to get there. But some of the plans that I have, just 3 to 5 years, even if I do a re-election, that means I'm gone, or I'm going to be at the house by the time this happens because I'm not running. I'm not doing another term. I'm doing, my plan was from the start to do 2 terms and ride off in the sunset. Right. But one of the things I wanted to see right out of the gate is if you look at East Milton's Park and where we have it now that they've moved the road from Bobby Brown Road and we created Randy Brown Road up in the northern part, now you have to literally go through the state prison to get to the park. Yeah. That's not really good for sports tourism. And I'm really big into trying to get the county into sports tourism. And that's why I started identifying that land out there as like, look, let's take 100 acres of that, but which is now amended to 150 because we want some more natural spaces to it. But 150 acres, and we're going to make it into a private-public park situation. Okay, yeah. And really where we got that idea, or I got that idea, was when me and the economic development director, Shannon Ogletree, we took a field trip over to Opelika, Alabama. Okay. Opelika, Alabama is a veteran community basically for the Auburn area, and it's a beautiful little community. But they've got a park over there that's a 70-acre park, I believe, that I went and saw. And it was because of that pickleball enthusiasm that I had first coming into office. Right. And they have a 24-court pickleball facility there. It's all indoors. It's kind of, it's indoors. It's not air conditioned, but it's indoors. Right. And it's got airflow and circulation. They can play through there. When I was there was a bunch of Auburn kids playing there. It was 24 courts, and it was pretty cool. Yeah. And I can't remember the name. I think it was the cable company that had their name on the complex. Say $5 million there. And you had another one with the electric company or some other industry that was in the area that had the aquatic center. Yeah. So, as I was talking to the mayor, he's like, this is how you have to do it. It's public-private. And you just, you get that funding because these industries are more than willing to write these checks to have their names on these facilities to show their support for the community. Oh, sure. So this is something that I'm really excited about. Even your soccer fields, you had baseball fields, and they were geared up specifically for the area, for the community. But on top of that, they had a pretty good. They had a pretty good sports tourism gig going on as well.
Yeah.
So heads and beds, that's the name of the game for our tourism industry. We don't match our counties, our neighboring counties. We don't match their income on that Okaloosa side, and we don't match the Escambia side. We're outside of that 10 million. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but once you get to the 10 million, you're able to have more freedom on a 10 million annually. You have more freedom on what you could spend your money on.
Okay.
We're restricted to what the state says we can spend our money on.
Uh-huh.
So the magic number on that's 10 million. We sit still, I'm on the TDC as well, but we sit at that 6 million mark, and we've been sitting there for a while because we focused all of our tourism into the beach. We have some upper tourism, with Adventures Unlimited and such as that, some of the glamping opportunities that we have up in the northern end, which I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, we're starting to get there, and then we just approved a 1,200 acre horse equestrian neighborhood up in the J area. It's going to have a pretty large campground on it, but it's going to be serving the events that happen in that neighborhood. So that'll be heads and beds, even if it's the camper beds, because even when they come in, that goes towards that bed tax as well.
Right.
So, I don't know if I took us too far away from the initial question.
Yeah, we're talking about the land swap and what that would mean for the people of Santa Rosa County as far as are they going to be, what is it going to look like? And as you're mentioning, it's more the industrial.
It's more of the light industrial like we have now.
And some recreational.
And recreational opportunities. And so, that's where we want to stay. I mean, that gives the economic development sector a little bit more land to play with.
Sure.
You've got 150 less than 700, so you've got a good bit of land to deal with there, and it gives us a great foothold in this area. And again, when you're looking at the positioning of it, it's just a great position to be in.
Yeah,
because when we lost a great opportunity to Williams Industries, Williams International. They came over. They ended up over in Okaloosa County, but I am as well as the economic director, Shannon. We went up to Detroit. We tried to get them to come into here. We had some different issues with who's going to supply the power, and who could handle. Power is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So, especially for a 1 million square foot facility. It's a huge facility going in over there. We lost it, but that's all fine because there's plenty of other opportunities, and it's still in the region.
Yeah.
So it's still beneficial to all of us, but we'll have a lot more opportunities. We still, we're looking at Leonardo up in the northern end, and there's going to be more to follow. Like I said, there's a lot of NDAs that I've got to make sure I remember.
Yeah.
I use the code names.
Absolutely. Another question a lot of folks are want to ask or want to know about. As the population increases, as we know, Santa Rosa County is growing, one of the fastest growing counties in Florida. How is the county ensuring that fire, EMS, and law enforcement services are keeping pace?
One of the things we did do, and this has been in the last year, is we put impact fees in place. So with the impact fees, we're able to take pressures off of other parts of the budget. So we're able to get into that section because the impact fees are dealing primarily with transportation infrastructure. So when you see that getting released from that portion of it getting released from the general budget, you're able to put more money over into it. You could as well expand your impact fees to cover those areas. But one of the things that we are doing is with our current half-cent sales tax that we have on our local ops and sales taxes, we have 60% that goes towards roadway infrastructure. And that's a common theme here. That's probably the most important thing because that law enforcement relies on that. So you have 30% that goes into safety, which is your law enforcement, your firefighting, your EMS, and such as that. And then you have 10% that goes into land conservation. So that's what we currently have, but we've constantly been shifting and shaping to look at the future, to take care of those populations that we have coming in, and we can't stop those populations as some people think we can, because a lot of people don't realize in the state of Florida it's illegal to try to even invoke. You can't even utter the word building moratorium in the state of Florida. You can in Alabama, but it's temporary. I think they only give them 90 days on a moratorium. So that's not something that states like to do, is restrict growth, because like any business, everything relies on growth. It's managing the growth. That's the hard thing to deal with. We have a unique situation in East Milton where we have a blank canvas. And I'll take you back to 2008. We had a plan for the Pace area. We didn't stick to it. Okay. And East Milton, we just made a master plan. And the goal, as I said from the start, is we got to make a plan we're going to stick to it. Because the plan is worthless if we're not going to stick to it. Right now we're going to see the problems that we see in Pace. You understand in Pace, when you go into Pace, you see any kind of rezoning that you see coming about, you see an uproar. And you understand it too. When you're in my position, I started understanding it. Before I came in the office, I didn't really see the problem as it lies, because I saw the problem. It's like, man, there's people over in Pace, they just can't be happy with anything coming in. But then you see that nothing stuck to a plan, nothing really, it's a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
So this doesn't work here. Yeah, of course it doesn't work here. But it's going to have to work here, right? Because we're just filling in the spaces.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the importance of sticking to the plans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got a lot of people coming in, and how you manage it, is a big deal. Okay, let's see here. So we're gonna go to one of our last questions, and then we'll let you get back to it. And I appreciate you sitting down with us this afternoon. So for those in District 2, those in Santa Rosa County, what are the top priorities you're focusing on right now to improve day-to-day life for Santa Rosa County residents?
Well, as we covered earlier, one of the top things that I've been working on is Highway 90, the expansion through Highway 90, because that's a safety issue. That's a safety issue for people in East Milton. But that also goes into the third prong of my plan, and that's infrastructure, and that's crucial infrastructure. Medical is one of them. We have zero medical in East Milton. And that's one of the things I've been working on with all of our medical providers. I've told every one of them, the first one to come into play here is going to be treated with the red carpet, acceleration, permittings, and such as that. So that's another factor, and it was actually my third one, but the second one is getting the wastewater treatment over there. Because of the wastewater treatment, Milton's got their issues with developing their wastewater treatment plant. They've got funding issues that have come upon them, and we really can't rely on that construction anytime soon. So we got into the business ourselves.
Right.
We started with a 250,000 gallon capacity plant, which we're going to be starting in the next 2 months.
Okay.
That's going to be a groundbreaker pretty soon.
Well,
and we're going to get that one. We just got to be online for the end of 2027.
Yeah.
We all went ahead and we started with 500,000 immediately. So it started in my first day in office. When we started talking about it, it was 250. I was like, well, we might want to just start thinking about 500, which we did. So now we're at the 500,000, but we have everybody on notice that we're probably going to jump to the next section of 750. And we had the ability to get up to $1 million for that one. And that's really it was initially just to serve the industrial complex and the commercial complex there, because what you had as a threat in 87 and I-10 is you had a lot of people that had land that were speculating on developing it in the future. Well, when you don't have wastewater treatment, the best thing that they're looking at is mini warehouses and storage, because you don't need wastewater treatment for those things. It's it's just people aren't going there for those reasons. They're going there to dump things in a garage and leave. So it's big money for little infrastructure. So that's what we had to start convincing people. Look, you got opportunities to probably sell out to hoteliers because of the different opportunities that we'll have with sports tourism.
Right.
To look at the bigger picture and not look at just right now.
Right.
So in you know how blank that canvas has been for how long. So we're moving there. We're getting these things going. Like I said, one of the things that I'm really working hard on is getting medical services there, because we need something there quickly, because we're not going to get to that road construction anytime soon. That's going to be 7 years. I'm saying at the most 7 years before we're breaking that ground, and then you're going to be building a bridge. So that's going to be a long process.
Right.
Building bridges, even as short as that Blackwater River one is, it's going to take a minute.
Oh yeah.
And we know that. And so we knew what we had, that current bridge that we had was built in 1986. There's a lot of people that can probably remember how long that took to get done.
Yeah.
So, those are the top three. Highway 90 widening, the wastewater treatment that we have going on, and then as far as getting shopping opportunities out there. Along with, so that's another goal, is to take that population and take the need to come across this side of the river away. Really, it's like you have everything.
Yeah.
So you're going to have restaurants, you're going to have grocery, you're going to have shopping opportunities, you're going to have medical opportunities. You're going to have all of those there to alleviate that need to come over to this side.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, I sit through that traffic daily. I know you're familiar with it too. That line certain times of the day, it seems like a long time. I think I've sat there for as long as 12 minutes getting from Ward Basin all the way into Willing Street.
Right.
At that time, and on occasion, it's really not that bad, but it is bad when we're not used to it.
Sure. Oh,
so you're not used to those things, and then God forbid you have a medical emergency and you're having to deal with a bridge. Well,
and these folks have to go out to the bridge to get to the hospital, and that becomes an issue.
Exactly. So, and that's one of the things that I've always been harping on, is this is a safety issue, and that's one of the things that I was bemoaning when there was roadblocks from the past city councils before I even came into political office.
Yeah.
So I was like, we've got to take care of the people of East Milton, because the population is not going to go down. It's going to go up. And you're seeing really nice neighborhoods coming in. And like I said, ever since I've been in office, I've been able to talk to the development community and say, look, we don't have the infrastructure to handle it right now, kind of put everything on the brakes, because you've never seen any major rezonings in East Milton since I've been in office.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, you've seen them pop up, and then they pull off the agenda because basically they knew where I was.
Right.
As far as where I could go, and being the district commissioner, I got a lot more say, because the rest of the board is going to usually follow the expertise of the district commissioner.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. No, I appreciate that. Let's see here. We are still recording. I tell you what, we'll go ahead and we can end it, but
okay.
Is there anything else that you'd want to share with us today while we have you for Santa Rosa County? I know we talked about the top priorities that you're working on right now. We talked about widening of Highway 90, the industrial park, the outlier field, managing some of this rapid growth. Is there anything else?
Well, one of the things I would like to put out there is you see a lot of people going to social media, different sites to get their information. I'm going to start a door knocking campaign, because of course I'm in a campaign right now. And one of the things I wanted to be able to do is address people's questions face to face. A lot of people go into these social media markets and they see quick headlines, and then they buy into them, because there's a lot of people that are out there just they truncate the truth. They use very little information, basically. We have a robust website that is full of information. We have a email list that our PIO has out, and that gives them. I mean, I've been a part of those emails for a couple of years before I even came in the office. You know what traffic situations are. You know all of the different things that are going on within the county, and as far as knowing what's going on in the meetings, we're in a fishbowl. I mean, every one of our meetings are televised. I mean, they're recorded. Sometimes they can drone, but they can drone on and on. But there's different sections where you can actually follow an agenda. It's an interactive agenda too. You can skip to different topics. So we've gone a long way as far as keeping people educated. But until people start realizing that those resources are there for them, and they don't have to really rely on the social media, and I'll say reporters.
Sure.
Yeah. That really don't get you the full story. But that's not uncommon. We see our own local television channel do that as well. So everything's narrated to fit the narrative.
Right.
So and that's why I appreciate blogs. I mean, I appreciate this platform as well, because it's where people can hear the full answer, right? The full question and the full answer.
That's right. That's right. Hey, that's why we do it. Well, appreciate it. Thank you for sitting with us. We want to get the information out. So folks, if you are looking for some information on Santa Rosa County staff has done a wonderful job of putting that out there. So go look for it. It is available. But we're going to keep doing what we do, which is allow the commissioners to come on and talk and answer these questions. So, all right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And until next time, take care.